Nan McKay and Associates, Inc. has produced this video to be used in briefing clients on the Housing Choice Voucher Program. Use of this video is limited to authorized users who have purchased the video. Welcome to the Housing Choice Voucher Program from Nan McKay and Associates, Inc. Unauthorized use is subject to civil and criminal penalties. We are committed to ensuring full access to participation. If you need an accommodation for a disability in order to have full access to our services, please let us know.
Congratulations on being selected to participate in the Housing Choice Voucher Program. This program provides you with housing assistance and allows you more choice in where you want to live. To do this, the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, provides money to your housing agency to pay part of the rent to your landlord. Now that you've been determined to be eligible for the program, this video can give you a better idea of how to find a place to live and what to expect during your participation. Your housing representative will also explain the housing agency's rules and answer any questions that you may have. The housing agency will work with both you and your landlord. The program can only be successful through a solid partnership between the landlord, the housing agency, and you. All three have important responsibilities to each other. Let's go over the housing agency's responsibilities, your responsibilities, and your landlord's. The housing agency has many responsibilities. They are to determine if you are eligible for the program, to issue you a voucher, to explain how the program works, to approve the unit you choose, to pay assistance payments to the owner, and to make sure that owners and families follow the program rules. Your responsibilities are to provide all information your housing agency requests, find suitable housing, take good care of the housing unit, abide by the landlord's lease, and comply with the family obligations of the voucher program and the housing agency's rules. The landlord's responsibility is first to try to select a good renter. A landlord may want to check credit history, rental history, and criminal history before agreeing to rent the unit. The landlord is also responsible to obey fair housing laws, to make repairs to the unit, to comply with the contract between the owner and the housing agency, to collect your portion of the rent, and to enforce the lease. You will get a briefing packet from the housing agency that contains information about the program, the forms you'll need to complete when you find a place you want to live, and your responsibilities once you are on the program. Take a moment to look through the packet your agency has given you. Your briefing packet contains a voucher, the amount of time you have to find a unit, including possible extensions to your search time, how the housing agency calculates what they pay toward your rent and utilities, the areas in which you may look for a unit, an explanation of portability, which is when a family takes their voucher to another agency's jurisdiction and continues to receive assistance. The HUD Tenancy Addendum Form, which contains the HUD requirements that must be included in your lease. A Request for Tenancy Approval Form, which is the HUD form you must submit when you find a unit that the landlord is willing to lease. The HUD brochure called A Good Place to Live that describes how to select a unit. The housing agency's policy for determining the bedroom size listed on the voucher. A copy of the Housing Discrimination Complaint Form, a list of owners who may be willing to lease units to families, a notice that families may request a list of accessible units if there is a family member with disabilities, the family obligations under the program, which are written on the voucher itself, the reasons for which assistance can be terminated, and the housing agency's informal hearing procedures. If you or anyone in your family is a person with disabilities, and you need a specific accommodation because of your disability in order to fully access your agency's programs and services, please talk to the person you are working with at the housing agency. They will work together with you to be sure that your family has equal access to all available housing programs and opportunities. Your voucher is the most important document in your briefing packet. It is the agreement between you and the housing agency and lists all of your responsibilities under the program. The unit size listed on your voucher refers to the maximum number of bedrooms for which you can receive assistance. If you choose a larger bedroom size, the housing agency will only pay for the bedroom size of your voucher. If you choose a smaller bedroom size, the housing agency will pay the amount for the smaller bedroom size. The expiration date is listed on your voucher. If your voucher expires before you find suitable housing and turn in your paperwork to the agency, you will have to reapply and go back on the waiting list if it's open. That is why it is important that you find a suitable unit as quickly as possible. In some cases, your agency might be willing to extend your search time. Your housing representative will explain the policy on extending vouchers. It's up to you to decide where you want to live. You may look for a unit anywhere within the housing agency's jurisdiction. You may also look for a unit outside the agency's jurisdiction if you qualify. You may choose to continue living in your current unit as long as it qualifies under program rules. On the other hand, if you live in a high-poverty neighborhood, you may want to consider searching for a housing unit in another area. Your voucher makes it possible for you to look in places you may not have looked for a unit before. Some of the advantages of moving to a lower poverty area could be better employment and educational opportunities, or being closer to community services. In your search for suitable housing, you'll want to choose a place that meets your family's needs. First, consider the neighborhood and unit. Is there a safe place for your children to play? Is the area clean and well kept? You may want to consider other factors like, which schools will your children attend? How close is the nearest grocery store? Is the area close to where you work or your children's daycare? Is there public transportation nearby? In your briefing packet, you should find a list of property owners who may have available units. You are not limited to this list. You may also want to use the internet, the newspaper, or apartment guides. As you search for a unit, keep in mind that the unit will have to pass inspection, so the condition of the unit you choose is important. The HUD brochure included in your briefing packet describes how to choose a unit that will pass inspection. There is also a lead-based paint brochure in your packet that you should review. You may have to look at several units before you find one you want to rent and that qualifies for the program. Also, when you meet with the owner to look at the unit, you may want to ask these questions. What is the owner's maintenance policy? Will you be allowed to have pets? How much is the security deposit? Are any utilities included in the rent? Who supplies the stove and refrigerator? Many owners will have you complete an application and may check your credit and references along with your rental history. Your briefing packet contains a statement of the housing agency's policy on providing information to prospective owners. If the owner is not familiar with the Housing Choice Voucher program, let them know that he or she can contact your housing agency. A housing representative will explain how the program works. Your housing agency may also provide an owner information packet or handbook, or they may hold meetings for new owners. When you choose the unit you want, you must request that the housing agency approve it by submitting the Request for Tenancy Approval form in addition to any other documents that your agency requires you to provide. Remember, your leasing documents must be received by the housing agency before your voucher expires. It is important to make sure you do not sign a lease before you submit your paperwork to the agency. You cannot sign a lease until the unit passes inspection and is approved for the program. When the housing agency receives your request for tenancy approval, they will schedule an inspection. The person working with you at the housing agency can advise you about how inspections are scheduled. It is a good idea to be present at the inspection of the unit so you can see what repairs need to be made. If the unit doesn't pass inspection, the owner can be given time to make repairs and the unit re-inspected after repairs are completed. In addition to passing the inspection, your housing agency must also make sure that the rent the owner is charging is reasonable. The agency determines this by comparing the rent for the unit you have chosen to rents charged for similar units in the area that are not on the voucher program. Once the unit is approved, you will sign a lease with the owner. Your housing agency will tell you when the unit has been approved and you can sign the lease. After the lease is signed, the owner will sign a contract with the housing agency and the agency will begin paying housing assistance payments to the owner each month. The amount of rent you will pay to the owner each month is based on a percentage of your income and the rent for the unit you choose. Failure to pay your share could result in eviction by the owner and a loss of your housing assistance. It's very important that you understand how the payment standard works. You should find a copy of the payment standard schedule for your agency in your briefing packet. The payment standard schedule is broken down by bedroom size. Circle the payment standard that matches your voucher size. That amount is the maximum your agency will pay for rent and utilities. If you choose a unit where the rent and utilities are below that payment standard amount, your share will generally be 30% of your monthly income. The agency wants to make sure your rent payments are affordable to you. If you find a unit where the rent and utilities are higher than the payment standard amount, your share will be more than 30% of your monthly income. HUD does not allow families to pay more than 40% of their income towards rent and utilities. If the unit is not affordable for you, the agency won't be able to approve your unit unless the landlord is willing to lower the rent. Your housing representative will provide you with more information about this affordability limit. There is also information about how your portion of the rent is calculated in your briefing packet. The housing agency will notify both you and the owner when the amount of your housing assistance payment and the amount of rent you pay have been calculated. While you are on the program, you will have to comply with the owner's lease, the family obligations on the voucher, and the housing agency's policies and procedures. The housing agency will contact you to schedule a re-examination according to their schedule. They will re-verify your income and confirm who is living in the unit. If your income has changed, your rent will be adjusted. About 3 or 4 months prior to your re-examination, you will receive a written notice from the housing agency. When your re-examination is conducted, you provide complete and accurate information about who lives with you and the income of all members of your household. The housing agency will verify all of the information that you provide. The information you provide will be compared to a national database of employment and Social Security records to make sure that the information you provided is accurate and up to date. Providing false or incomplete information may cause you to lose your voucher. Once the agency completes your re-examination, they will determine your share of the rent for the upcoming period until your next scheduled re-examination. Both you and the owner will be given a written notice before any change in your rent payment or the housing agency's payment to the owner goes into effect. You are also required to allow the housing agency to conduct a full inspection of your unit at least annually. The agency conducts this inspection to make sure your unit is in decent, safe, and sanitary condition. If you can't be home for your inspection, be sure to make arrangements for an adult to be there to allow the inspector to enter the unit. This is required for everyone on the program. If a family member moves out of the unit, you must report it to the housing agency right away. Also, if you are considering having someone move into your unit, you must first let the housing agency know because all household members must be approved by the agency before they can live in the unit. Be sure that you understand your housing agency's procedures for approval of additional household members. You can lose your assistance if you move someone in without the approval of your agency. Ask your housing agency about the maximum length of time your guests are allowed to stay. If the amount of your rent changes because of a change in your income, both you and the landlord will receive advance written notification of your new rent amount and the date it goes into effect. The landlord may not increase the rent for the unit during the first year of your lease. However, after the first year, the landlord may submit a request for a rent increase to your housing agency. All owner rent increases must be approved by the housing agency before they go into effect. If the owner asks you to agree to any changes in the lease, contact the housing agency to find out what to do. Also, you should be aware that federal law protects renters in foreclosed properties. Your housing authority should be able to provide you with more information on your rights should foreclosure affect your unit. If you decide you want to move to another unit and continue receiving housing assistance, you must give the owner proper written notice according to your lease. This is usually 30 days, but you'll need to check your lease to be certain. You're also required to give a copy of the notice to the housing agency. The person working with you at the housing agency will explain the housing agency's rules and procedures for moving. If you are thinking about moving outside your housing agency's area, talk to your housing agency representative. This is called portability. Portability permits a family to move to a new area with continued voucher assistance. Your briefing packet should have information about how portability works. At the end of this briefing, you will be asked to sign your voucher. By doing so, you acknowledge your responsibilities and obligations while participating in the program. These family obligations are listed on your voucher, and they apply to all families on the program. There are 2 types of family obligations. The first type of obligation includes things you must do. Families are required to do the following in order to keep their voucher. Tell the truth about who will be living in the unit and the amount of their household income. Provide proof of their Social Security numbers and citizenship status. Provide documents that your agency asks for, such as your birth certificate or photo ID. Inform your agency when someone moves out of the unit and request approval before allowing anyone to move into the unit. Sign any consent or release forms that are needed to verify eligibility. Take care of the unit and don't damage the unit beyond normal wear and tear. Allow the housing authority to inspect the unit at reasonable times after reasonable notice. Once you are admitted to the program, you must live in the unit as your family's only place of residence. Provide any information requested by the housing agency to verify the family is living in the unit or relating to family absences. Notify the housing agency and owner before moving out of the unit and give the housing agency a copy of any owner eviction notice. In addition, when you give information to the housing agency, don't leave out anything that could have an effect on the amount of rent you pay. Information you provide must be true and complete. The second type of family obligation includes things you must not do. You must not seriously or repeatedly violate the lease. Do not sublet or transfer the lease. Do not use illegal drugs or get involved in any other type of illegal drug-related activity. Do not commit any violent criminal acts. You must not abuse alcohol in a way that threatens the health, safety, or right to peaceful enjoyment of the premises by other residents. It's important that you and your family understand and honor your family obligations under the voucher. If your family fails to abide by these family obligations, your assistance may be terminated and you may not be eligible for future assistance. Housing assistance is a privilege and should not be abused. If you're not sure about the rules and procedures, contact your housing agency to get the correct information. No one should be evicted or lose their assistance unnecessarily. Your family obligations and rules of the program are included in your briefing packet. Keep all of the program literature you have been provided in a safe place with your lease so you can refer to them in the future. In your dealings with the PHA and with the owners, be aware of your rights under federal non-discrimination laws. These laws prohibit you from being treated differently because of your age, religion, gender, disability, color, race, national origin, or because you have children. HUD housing programs are also open to all eligible individuals and families, regardless of sexual orientation, gender identity, or marital status. Some states or local areas may have additional protections as well. The Violence Against Women Act, known as VAWA, also offers protections for applicants and participants, regardless of gender. VAWA protects victims from losing their housing due to domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking. If you feel you have been denied your housing rights due to unlawful discrimination, you can file a housing discrimination complaint to help resolve the issue. You can do this in a number of ways, through HUD or through state or local agencies specializing in fair housing issues. Legal services and disability rights groups often help qualified individuals file fair housing complaints through the local court system as well. There is information in your packet about how to file a complaint. Ask your housing representative if you have questions. Information and cooperation are the key ingredients to achieving success in the voucher program. The information you have received today will help you succeed in choosing safe, decent housing in the community that is best for your family. You are about to become one of the more than 1 million families who have been served by the Housing Choice Voucher Program. By following the program rules, you will be able to increase your housing choices at a price you can afford. You'll be able to choose the neighborhood you want to live in and the type of housing that's best for your family with the features that are most important to you.
Nan McKay & Associates has produced this video to be used in informing clients of housekeeping basics. Use of this video is limited to authorized users who have purchased the video Nan McKay & Associates Housekeeping Basics from Nan McKay & Associates. Unauthorized use is subject to civil and criminal penalties. We are committed to ensuring full access to participation. If you need an accommodation for a disability in order to have full access to our services, please let us know. When you participate in an assisted housing program through your public housing agency, your home is inspected annually to determine if it's maintained in an acceptable condition. While the inspection focuses on health and safety requirements, how well you maintain your home on an ongoing basis definitely makes a difference in the overall condition. This video will provide you with information on ways to maintain your home and provide you with many useful housekeeping tips, most of which are very simple to follow. Some of these ideas are preventative, designed to save you time and trouble in the long run. We will start by looking at your unit room by room. Then we will look at some general cleaning needs such as dusting, floors, and windows. Let's begin with the first area seen in your home, the actual entry area. To prevent dirt or mud from being tracked inside, it is a good idea to have a doormat immediately outside your front door. A small entryway rug will also help keep this area clean. Some cleaning experts take this a step further, recommending that family members and guests remove their shoes upon entry. Most dirt is tracked in from our shoes, so this suggestion may work for you and your family. Next, let's take a look at one of the least favorite rooms to keep clean, the kitchen. The first rule is to make sure that all foods are stored properly. Use containers with covers that seal tightly to store foods such as cereal, flour, sugar, and rice. This will help avoid attracting ants and other insects. It really is much easier to take steps to avoid insects than it is to get rid of the insects once they are present. Store your dishes and pots and pans in the appropriate cupboards and cabinets. Just eliminating some of this potential clutter goes a long way towards a clean kitchen and helps ensure you have adequate working space for meal preparation. If one is not provided in your kitchen, invest in a good cutting board. There are some very inexpensive acrylic cutting surfaces available, and it is important to protect your countertops. Make sure you thoroughly clean the cutting board after use to avoid food contamination from bacteria and other foodborne illnesses. You may want to use a brush to clean cuts and grooves in the cutting board surface. Protecting your countertops also means not setting hot items directly on the surface. Using a hot pad or other type of protection will prevent damage from burns and scratches. Nobody enjoys washing dishes, but this job is made much easier by washing dishes as soon as possible after meal preparation. This way, food does not have the chance to dry and firmly adhere to the plates and bowls. If time doesn't allow you to fully wash the dishes, be sure to rinse them immediately. The seconds it will take right after use will save you many minutes later. Wash the dishes before the pots and pans using warm water, dish soap, and a clean cloth or sponge. After washing, rinse the dishes in warm water and dry using a commercial rack. If you don't have a rack, use a clean towel. If you have a dishwasher, run it before you go to bed and unload it first thing in the morning. Try to end each day with a clean, empty kitchen sink. Don't overlook the importance of taking care of your cleaning materials. If you have a microwave, microwaving your sponge or dishcloth for 20 seconds will kill any bacteria present, but be very careful. The cloth or sponge will be extremely hot, so allow plenty of time for cooling before using. Always clean all countertops in the stove and sink after cooking. Warm, soapy water works well when wiping down the outside of the oven and stove, but there are also many good cleansers available in stores. Although you may not need to clean these areas after each time you cook, do look over knobs, burners, drip pan areas, oven racks, and broiler pans to see if cleaning is needed. If you have a garbage disposal, there are steps that you can take to eliminate odors as well as any accumulated debris that may be causing the odors. Occasionally running small lemon or lime pieces through the garbage disposal will help leave a clean, fresh smell. Another helpful hint is to sprinkle a couple of teaspoons of baking soda down the drain, add in 2 ice cubes, and turn on the disposal. While the disposal is running, run hot water for a few minutes. Sweep the kitchen floor regularly and mop it weekly with warm water and a household cleanser. Wiping down cabinets and appliances and washing the dish rack should also be done on a weekly basis, along with wiping down switch plates and the inside of the garbage can. At least 4 times a year, empty and scrub down the inside of the refrigerator. While you are doing this, inspect the labels of jars and bottles and dispose of anything that has passed the expiration date. Make sure you clean around the door seal as well. This is also a good time to empty and clean the inside of utensil drawers and to clean the stove hood filter. Here's a little tip. Dry baking soda makes a great chrome cleaner. When disposing of garbage, plastic kitchen bags are effective. Using a garbage can with a lid will help reduce odors and spills. Empty your garbage when full or when there is excess food debris. Now let's move to the room that is everyone's least favorite, the bathroom. The bathroom should be cleaned weekly and even more frequently if it gets heavy use from a large family. Fortunately, most bathrooms are made of materials that are easy to keep clean. Tile and porcelain surfaces are stain resistant if dirt and scum are not allowed to build up on them. Try to make it a firm rule in your home to rinse out the tub or shower stall immediately after use. Spray water from the shower head on all interior surfaces, then lather soap onto a damp sponge, swish it around the tub or stall, and rinse. Keep mildew from taking hold by also wiping shower walls with a towel after each shower. If the bathroom has shower doors, you can also discourage mildew growth by leaving the shower doors open slightly to allow air to circulate. Hard water deposits can be removed from shower enclosures by using a solution of white vinegar and water, and cleaning glass shower doors with a sponge dipped in white vinegar will leave them sparkling. When you clean the bathtub, remove hair from drain traps to prevent clogging. Use a damp sponge and a non-abrasive cleanser to clean the inside of the tub. If there are rust stains, commercial rust removers can be very effective, but use caution. These products contain acid. If you do work with these products, be sure to wear rubber gloves. If bathroom tile needs a thorough cleaning, running the shower water at its hottest temperature will allow steam to loosen the dirt before cleaning. But don't use harsh abrasive powders or steel wool pads to clean tile. If dealing with plastic laminate, use a 2-sided scrubbing pad with fiber on one side and a sponge on the other. The fiber side is just abrasive enough to loosen grease and dirt. Turn the scrubber over and use the sponge side to wipe clean. When cleaning the sink and faucet, use a sponge or cloth. Old toothbrushes are often great cleaning tools, and they are especially effective for cleaning those little crevices that make up a faucet. Although there are many commercial products available to clean glass and mirrors, common household items can be very effective. Try this. Pour vinegar into a shallow bowl or pan, then crumple a sheet of newspaper. Dip it in the vinegar and apply to the mirror. Wipe the glass several times with the same newspaper until the mirror is almost dry. Then shine it with a clean, soft cloth or dry newspaper. It is time to address that most dreaded of chores, cleaning the toilet. The good news is that toilet bowls and tanks are usually made of non-porous, easy-to-clean vitreous china. When using commercial cleaning products, be sure to read the label to learn exactly how the product should be used. Watch for products that contain chlorine bleach or ammonia-based products. Never mix products that contain chlorine bleach with ammonia-based products. Always wear rubber gloves when you work with toilet cleaners. To clean your toilet quickly and efficiently, keep a long-handled brush available. Try an overnight cleaning by putting 2 denture cleanser tablets in the toilet and letting them sit overnight. Follow up by scrubbing the toilet the next morning. Make certain you scrub inside the toilet rim as well. And don't forget to clean the outside of the toilet seat, including the base and tank. Again, never mix chlorine bleach products with ammonia-based products. Rust stains under a toilet bowl rim sometimes yield to laundry bleach, but be sure to protect your hands with rubber gloves. Rub off truly stubborn stains with extra fine steel wool or with wet dry sandpaper, available at hardware stores. Periodically clean out the medicine cabinet. Medications should always be kept out of children's reach. Shelves can be easily washed with a sponge and warm soapy water and rinsed with clean water. To avoid rust and/or mildew, it is important to make sure the shelves are completely dry before returning items to the shelves. Mildew can also grow on shower curtains and bath mats. To help, whenever you purchase a new shower curtain, use the old shower curtain as a liner. With the old curtain hanging inside the shower or tub enclosure, the new curtain will stay clean longer. If you need to clean a bath mat that is either rubber or vinyl, simply toss it into the washer with your bath towels. Now that we've dealt with the bathroom, let's move on to the room that is probably the easiest room to get and to keep clean. That is the bedroom. One of the biggest problems to deal with here is dust. So if you are going to shake out or change sheets, do this first rather than last. This way, you won't find yourself dealing with dust twice. Wherever you are dusting, always start at the top and work down. This may include dealing with cobwebs. Depending on how severe the problem is, you can deal with it by using a lightweight broom, a dust rag, or your vacuum cleaner using the brush attachment. For very light cobwebs and for general dust, simply spritz a cloth with dusting spray and make your way around the room in a clockwise circle, working from the outside in. When dusting the bedroom, get under and behind the bed. Dust shelves and wipe down doors with a damp cloth. Here is another little cleaning tip. When you need to wipe down picture frames and lampshades, just slip an old sock over your hand. This makes for a very quick and easy way to dust these items. Save vacuuming or mopping for last. Don't miss those corners and edges. These same dusting and vacuuming guidelines apply to your living room. The living room is probably the first area to accumulate clutter, so this is an area that should be addressed daily. The easiest way is to do your best to deal with the messes as they come. If you have children, try keeping a basket or some other container handy in an easy access, convenient corner for quick and easy toy cleanup. Sort mail right away, disposing of trash and organizing bills. Never leave dirty dishes in any room. Take the time to at least rinse them off in preparation for washing. Make it a habit to dispose of unwanted magazines and newspapers at the same time you are emptying trash. If your home has stairs, make it easy on yourself by keeping a basket with a handle at the foot of the stairs. This way you can use the basket to temporarily store anything that needs to be returned upstairs. Whenever you do go upstairs, you can just pick up the basket and take it along with you. Then, just take a moment to return items to where they belong before the next time you come down the stairs and return the basket to its resting place. Now, what are some easy ways to deal with ongoing cleaning tasks such as windows and laundry? First, keep a little window cleaning kit in an easy-to-grab spot. Try using a cloth or paper towels along with an all-purpose surface cleaner. With this cleaner, you can clean not only the glass, but frames and windowsills all at the same time. Second, remember that you do not have to clean every window at one time. Do you have a favorite television program or two? Try cleaning one window at a time during commercial breaks. The reality is that washing dirty clothes is not all that difficult. It is the folding or ironing and putting away of those clothes that is so time-consuming. Folding clothes is a chore easily done while talking on the telephone or watching TV. Ironing is another great task that can be done during television commercials. Once clothes are folded or ironed, it really does not take long to put the clothes away. If you are responsible for taking care of your yard and the exterior of your home, here are some basic tips. Keep the outside of the home neat and free from litter. You may need to use a heavy-duty broom to hard brush cobwebs from under the eaves. To remove dirt and grime, try a hose with a pistol nozzle that allows you to direct a heavy-duty stream of water exactly where needed. Water your lawn as needed, but be water conscious. During hot weather, it is best to water in the early morning or in the evening. If there is a timed sprinkler system, be sure to turn it off during wet, rainy, or winter weather. During spring and summer, mow the lawn at least every other week, and during other times of the year as needed. During the fall, rake leaves regularly. Not all problems or maintenance needs for the unit are your responsibility, so know who to contact when you note something that needs repair and report any problems right away. If you do not report the item, the problem can worsen. In some cases, you might even be considered at least partially responsible because you did not report the problem. Sometimes it is readily apparent that a repair is needed, but even if you are unsure, report the problem. Just a little time and effort daily will ease the stress of keeping your home clean and in good condition. Follow these guidelines. Maintain a regular schedule. As a result, you can feel worry-free when the housing agency schedules their annual visit to review the condition of your home. Now, relax, settle in, and enjoy your home.
Nan McKay & Associates has produced this video to be used in informing clients of their rights under federal fair housing laws. Use of this video is limited to authorized users who have purchased the video Your Rights Under Fair Housing from Nan McKay & Associates. Unauthorized use is subject to civil and criminal penalties. Your housing authority is committed to making sure that if you have a disability that limits a major life activity, you can get around in your unit and around the property. Your housing authority is also committed to ensuring that you have an equal opportunity to use all of the services it provides. If you need an accommodation for a disability in order to have full access, please let the housing authority know. An accommodation means changing something in a dwelling unit, or making a policy more flexible, or doing something in a different way to give you an equal opportunity to apply for and to live in public or assisted housing. Also, if you need communication assistance because of a visual or hearing impairment, or because of a language barrier, please let your housing authority know. The purpose of this video is to give you an overview of your right to fair housing. We're not lawyers, and this isn't legal advice. We're just providing you with the information you need so that when you're finding a place to live, and even after you move into a unit, you know what your rights are. Keep in mind, though, it's a little bit different everywhere you go, so your housing authority's policies might be slightly different from the ones we discuss here. What is discrimination? It means being treated differently when you didn't ask to be treated differently. Have you ever felt you were being discriminated against because of your age? Or because of the religion you practice? Or because you're a man or a woman? Have you ever felt it was hard to apply or to live somewhere because of your disability? How about being told you couldn't live somewhere because you have children? Well, the government thinks that all people should have equal access to housing, regardless of their age, religion, gender, disability, color, race, national origin, or family status. If you feel you've been discriminated against for any of these reasons, you should know that there are laws, that protect you and allow you to have the same choices in housing that other people have. There are different types of discrimination. Sometimes discrimination is obvious. For example, when somebody says, "I don't want you here because of the color of your skin," or because you're from another country. Other times, discrimination may not be obvious, but it still counts as discrimination. That could even mean advertising. Any advertising you see sending a message that says, "We don't want you here," could be illegal. So if you saw an ad while you were searching for housing that said, "Bachelor Pad," that could be discrimination based on gender. If you feel pushed into choosing one unit or one neighborhood over another, that's discrimination as well. A landlord should never tell you that you have to live at a certain end of a building because you have children, or that another neighborhood would be better for you because of the language spoken there. That's called steering, and that's against the law. Fair housing laws also protect people with disabilities. If you need a change in the rules or services provided by your housing authority, you may request one. If your housing authority decides the change is reasonable and will remove a barrier to housing caused by your disability, then it may be able to make the change for you. Let's talk about someone who actually requested a change like this. This is Mrs. Smith. She moved into a public housing unit on the second floor in a development without elevators. Then she became disabled and now uses a walker. Now Mrs. Smith has requested to move to a unit on the first floor because it's going to be easier for her to get in and out of her unit. The housing authority will grant Mrs. Smith that transfer. Now let's talk about Mrs. Jones. Mrs. Jones is in the Housing Choice Voucher, or Section 8 program. Mrs. Jones finds a unit she likes, and she's going to sign the lease with the landlord, but she finds that she needs a ramp to get her motorized scooter in and out of the unit. Mrs. Jones asks the landlord if she can have a ramp constructed, and the landlord allows her to do so. In this case, because she's in the Housing Choice Voucher program rather than the public housing program, Mrs. Jones will need to pay for the ramp herself. These are just two examples of accommodations or changes that a housing authority or a landlord could make or allow to ensure that a person with disabilities has equal access to housing. These changes will each be considered on their own merits. But accommodations aren't just for making physical modifications. They may also involve altering the way your housing authority communicates with you, allowing you to have an assistance animal or a live-in aide, or making other changes in policies or practices. If you have a disability that prevents you from making full use of the services that your housing authority provides, please let the staff know. If there's a connection between the request and your disability, your housing authority can work with you to find an appropriate accommodation. Take Ms. Garcia, for example. Ms. Garcia wants to apply for housing at the Main Street Housing Authority. Ms. Garcia is a person with a hearing impairment, and she asked the housing authority if it could provide a sign language interpreter for her. The Main Street Housing Authority has decided to do that in all of its meetings with her, and it will pay for the interpreter. Your housing authority doesn't just offer communication help for people with disabilities. It also can provide services for people who may have trouble reading, writing, or speaking English. If you need assistance with language, let the staff at your housing authority know what language you speak. If you need translation or interpretation services for an interview or for any of the paperwork you receive, they should be able to provide the services at no cost to you. How many of you have ever felt your landlords or neighbors were discriminating against you because you have children? If you've been charged a higher deposit, moved to a different kind of unit, or even turned away because you have children, that's against the law. The law protects more than just biological children. Foster children, adopted children, and even women who are pregnant are protected too. If you're in the public housing program, your housing authority should treat all families equally. If you're in the Housing Choice Voucher program and you believe a landlord has turned you away or treated your family differently than a family without children, please talk to your housing authority immediately. You may be the victim of discrimination, and discrimination is against the law. You should also be aware of your rights if you are a victim of domestic violence. The Violence Against Women Act protects you from being denied housing or losing your housing just because you're a victim of domestic violence. This law applies to men, women, and children, and its protections extend to victims of dating violence, sexual assault, and stalking. If you are a victim of domestic violence, please let the staff at your housing authority know so that they can explain how the law protects you and what you need to do to prove that you are a victim. Kate Nelson is a victim of domestic violence. She has fled from her abuser with her daughter, and she is applying to Oakdale Housing Authority. The staff find out that she has a poor rental history, and they're worried about whether she's going to be a good candidate for their program. If Ms. Nelson can show that her poor rental history is the result of domestic violence, the Housing Authority staff will overlook her history and let her into the program. They won't deny her rental assistance just because of her victim status. Remember, domestic violence laws apply to both women and men. So do sexual harassment laws. Whether you are a man or a woman, you should know that you don't have to put up with sexual harassment just to keep your housing. Sexual harassment can be anything from inappropriate words or touching to pictures that make you feel uncomfortable. If you feel you've been a victim of sexual harassment, please let the housing authority know immediately. Someone will help you navigate the situation so that you feel safe. Sexual harassment is illegal, and you will not lose your housing if you report it. According to the law, no one can get back at you for reporting an incident of sexual harassment. In other words, you won't put your housing at risk even if you report sexual harassment against an employee of the housing authority or a landlord. The law makes that illegal. Jane Thomas is in the Housing Choice Voucher program. She was experiencing plumbing problems and called her landlord to help her with the maintenance. The landlord said that in return for the maintenance, he wanted a sexual favor. This is against the law, and if Ms. Thomas reports the incident to local law enforcement and the housing authority, the landlord cannot evict her for reporting him. Harassment comes in many forms. It's also against the law for someone to harass you, intimidate you, send you threatening letters, or attack you for living somewhere just because you're a certain race, gender, religion, color, or nationality. That's called a hate crime, and hate crimes are not tolerated in public or assisted housing. If you think that you've been the victim of a hate crime, that someone is threatening you or using force against you because of who you are or where you live, contact the police, then contact your housing authority as soon as possible. Take Ms. Ali, for example. Ms. Ali comes out to her car one morning and sees offensive graffiti painted on it. Ms. Ali has reason to believe that the graffiti is there because of her faith and that her neighbors don't want her living where she lives. This is a hate crime, and Ms. Ali needs to call the police as well as report the incident to her housing authority so that action can be taken against the people who spray painted her car. Ms. Ali has a right under the law to live where she wants to live without harassment. The people we've met in this video may have reasons to file a fair housing complaint against their landlords, their neighbors, or their housing authority. There are different ways to file a complaint. Take the Smith family, for example. If the housing authority incorrectly denies Mrs. Smith's transfer request, even though the request is reasonable and clearly connected to her disability, the Smith family could go to HUD's website at www.hud.gov and file a fair housing complaint there. They could also get a form from the housing authority, fill it out, and mail it in. Or they could call their local fair housing office and file a complaint by phone. Remember, your housing authority must help you file a fair housing complaint with HUD if you feel that you've been discriminated against. So if this happens, don't hesitate to ask for assistance. If you do file a complaint, make sure that the information you provide is accurate. The law states that if you commit fraud or knowingly lie to your housing authority or to HUD, you could face legal consequences or be fined up to $10,000. So make sure that whatever you report gives the full picture of the actual events that happened. What we've seen in this video represents what the law is all over the country. The laws in your state or city may provide even more protections than the federal laws. To find out whether your state or city offers additional protections under the law, try going to the internet and doing a web search for fair housing laws in your area. For example, if you live in Chicago, type Fair Housing Laws in Chicago. Remember, fair housing is everybody's right. Fair housing laws have been put into place to make sure that everyone has an equal opportunity to housing. If you feel that you've been discriminated against, please talk to the staff at your housing authority, and they will help you.
Hi there, my name is Tracy Richardson and I'm a housing manager here at Geauga Metropolitan Housing Authority, and I work with the HCV program. I hope you enjoyed the presentation you just watched on HCV, and now I'm going to answer a few more questions presented by our Executive Director, Dawn Farrell.
What's the difference between Section 8 and Housing Choice Voucher?
There is no difference between Section 8 and HCV. HCV is the new name for an old program.
What's specific to GMHA's Housing Choice Voucher program?
Here at Geauga Metropolitan Housing Authority, we do require a 12-month residency before you can port your voucher to another county.
What happens after the briefing?
Well, at the briefing, you will very likely receive your voucher. At that point, you can take that voucher and begin to look for an apartment or a house through a private landlord.
Is the unit inspected?
After you find an apartment, we will inspect the unit before you sign a lease, just to make sure that that unit is up to HUD standards.
Should I give the landlord any money to hold the unit?
No, you should not sign a lease, nor should you give the landlord any money until everything is approved by GMHA, because if you do give the landlord money and the unit doesn't pass inspection, you would very well be out of that money.